Alright, I'm about to go to bed here. Might just switch off this light in a second. Anyway, I've had a few comments and whatnot on some of these videos involving some of the things about women and whatnot. Somebody left a comment on another person's video where I said something, and they'd obviously listened to the main one I had about, you know, a generational collapse. I will tell you something, smart ass. First of all, I don't live in fucking Perth. Why is it that every idiot / troll I get can never work out with any degree of accuracy where the fuck I am? I can't even get the state right. Second of all, my cousins ain't looking overseas for men, trust me. You're talking about people who are so well organised here. These girls who have just spent money and spent money and spent more money because the selfish attitude comes first, to the point that neither of them have even got started paying off a house. I'm talking about the older ones here. At ages 38 and 41, they haven't even started paying off a property. This is typical of white women over here. They leave things so late. When I was 25 and a half, I realised that one day my parents are going to die and I had to get sorted. And 2 weeks before I turned 26, I signed off on my first property. 38 and 41 haven't even got their first property sorted. Secondarily, regardless of the fact that one of them continues to go overseas basically every year, neither of them has even got close to considering looking for love overseas. Just wouldn't happen. They want everything their way, and they don't want to have to lift a finger, which means that they don't want to have to make any effort. So they're not going to go overseas because that would mean making an effort. Now, they apparently also said that you know, Australians have a reputation for treating their women like shit. Well, we mightn't kiss their ass and buy them quite as much shit as you might in the States. American soldiers, when they come here, were renowned to, you know, in World War II this is, to be nicer to their girls. And part of that was to do with the fact they had a whole lot more money for what they were paid to do. Their rank, you know, some of them were on double, even triple the money. The higher ones, the higher ranking officers and shit like that were on triple the money. And, you know, that really brings it down to it all, doesn't it, you know? They're nicer because they've got more money. While we're on the subject of Aussies apparently not treating women too good, can you tell me why 75% of black women in America with kids are single mums? 75%. I could barely fucking believe that myself, but that's a figure that I have come across several times in a row. And by the way, if you're talking about Aussie men being bad to women, you are talking in the world. You are talking in the Western world, not the world. You obviously haven't been to South America and seen what it's like there. It is no big deal for guys to get 3 girls pregnant and dump the whole lot of them within weeks of getting them pregnant. That's pretty normal, actually. Especially for some young guys running off the rails. It's just the way it is. You want to know solid facts, because my Spanish is pretty sketchy but still workable. I actually got on Plenty of Fish Colombia I thought there were a lot of single mums on the Australian version of that site. There's even more in the Colombian one. But from what I could read with my very dodgy Spanish, almost every single girl will mention what kind of music they like, because Colombians, music means a lot to them. And every single one of them asks for a man who was respectful. I mean, every single fucking one. And, yeah. Furthermore, you obviously haven't thought about Arabia. You know what happens to a girl in Egypt, or any Muslim nation in that area of the world, really in the Middle East, who commits adultery? You know what they do? Now, there's a guy I work with who's nearly 70, and his uncle saw this in World War I firsthand. And they still do it today, I gather. Not as often, but in some of the worst areas of the Middle East, yeah, it happens. They tie them to a bottom of a donkey, underneath the donkey, and the donkey rapes them to death, basically. That's your punishment for committing adultery. Anyway, oh yeah, and that's another country where they can have multiple wives. Well, that whole region's like that. And believe it or not, even Indonesia is like that. Where they'll take a second wife, and it may very well be your younger sister. So keep that one in mind when you judge Australian men. You must only be talking about in the Western world, and that's that. Anyways, somebody asked about Aboriginal girls. Some of them are hot. And I actually had one sleep at my house at one point. Nothing really happened, but they are very, very friendly. They're very friendly and approachable, Aboriginal girls. Long story short, it's a bit like some of like Indians, like Samoans. You marry them, you might end up marrying the whole family with it. Not necessarily, but it just seems that, it's one of those cultures. The other thing is, in case you ever had any inkling that white women weren't smart, you obviously haven't met Aboriginal girls. Honestly, it doesn't matter how much of a blonde bimbo you've come across in your life. Aboriginal girls are just very simplistic in their way of thinking. I mean, honestly, and even my mother has said this when she's talked with Aboriginal women in their late 30s. It's like talking to a kid. It's as simple as that. If you married an Aboriginal girl, some of these girls, their thought patterns don't extend much above a white girl of age 10 or 12 years old. I shit you not. I want a girl who's got some brains, but, and the culture, it isn't too bad. They're willing to live a very, very low standard of life, but there's a lot of alcohol abuse. And the trouble also is they're a little bit too easy. Yeah, they're a little bit too friendly and approachable. And that leads to, well, let's face it, they've got a hell of a lot of chlamydia amongst them, and that's just that. Sad fact, a lot of it's, the culture's been fucked up by forcing white culture on them. And add to that, alcohol and everything just went sideways from there. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem like that, but anyway. One thing their culture did get right, amongst all the things we help fuck up for them, the girls will still approach the men without a fucking problem and without their nose in the air, like as though they're 10 times better than the boys they were brought up around. And let's face it, this is a whole bunch of the problem that we're facing here, is that the same girls that were brought up in this area amongst these boys never consider any of these boys as being anything close to what they want in a man. They all want something that is so far above their social group, their area, their culture, their class, their whatever you want to call it, you know, that it's just ridiculous. You know, they would not consider the same guys that were brought up with the same era of them in the same area as they were, or anything like that, because they're all above it. But you know, and that's what's led us to this point. It's as simple as that. But it's sort of different with South Americans, I'm told. You know, there's a lot more emphasis on family and stuff like that, and it's sort of different. You know, I don't know if you've seen the movie Spanglish about you know, rich white people with a Spanish, a Mexican maid and whatever. Adam Sandler playing a movie role that you'd never expect him to play. If that's anything to go by, yeah. But I've been told by a lot of guys that Mexican girls, they're just, you know, they know that they're going to grow up and become a mother, and that's a thing that there's sort of, you know, when they're in their late teens, they know that's where they're headed in life, and they intend to head that way in life, you know. Over here, nah. They intend to party as much as they want and then chase a career, and then at age 45 they wake up and say, fuck, I want kids now, but I haven't even found a man, but then every man I did come across I knocked back. None of them were too good, you know, none of them were good enough for me. They go out every night, and trust me, this is like these cousins I've got, they go out every fucking night. You know, party, party, party. No plan. You know, no plan. And or the plan is just fucking unrealistic, you know. And, yeah. At the end of the day, they become old cat ladies. But, anyways, that's where I'm at with all this at the moment. I just thought I'd touch on those points and have a little whinge there. It's always funny, you know, like it's just the other one that was mentioned is maybe I want white babies. It'd be nice. It'd be nice. I wouldn't say no to something other than white babies, but I just always had that feeling that if I had a black baby in my arms, it wouldn't feel like it was mine. It would feel like it's just someone else's kid and I'm looking after it, you know. One of those things. It's funny over here, it's actually very common over here, mail order brides, it's getting ridiculously common. And I gather the same in Italy, you know. Just one of these things. Around these areas, there's a lot of Asian girls who end up marrying over here. And it's just, you know, Chinese girls is the same thing. It's just like it's one of their goals in life is to get married. Whereas when you're a white girl, the goal in life is to just do what you want to do and just leave everything too late. There's no plan. This whole concept of role models has been shot to bits by feminism and other stuff like that. And long story short, they reap what they sow.